wants Americans to believe that there's only one party that wants to fight terror. And there's a cynical game to try to divide America and win an election. What we need is not a game plan to capture a few congressional seats. What we really need is a plan to capture Osama bin Laden and beat the Al-Qaeda. Begins by leveling with Americans. It begins by making clear that we will no longer accept the pretense that Iraq is the center of the war on terror. It is not now, and it never has been, and Americans now understand that. The truth is, this president's disastrous decisions have made Iraq a fuel depot for terror, fueling terrorism across the world, as we now know from our own intelligence agencies. And they were willing to ignore the truth, even as we debated on the floor of the United States Senate, and tell America something different, while our own intelligence community was telling them this war is creating terrorists and making Americans less safe. The truth is, Iraq distracts, and it diverts from the real war on terror. Even the Republican chairman of the Armed Services Committee just returned from Iraq a few days ago. And what did he say? He said they've got 3 months, or 2 months, 3 months to end the violence. Sounds like a deadline to me. Sure, we all understand how they play this game. It's been a long time that we've had to take to try to make this clear, and we're finally at that point. But let me make it about as clear as I know how, as someone who felt these same feelings 35 or so years ago. No American soldier should be sacrificed because squabbling Iraqi politicians refuse to compromise. No American should be sacrificed because they refuse to embrace democracy. I believe it is time, and it has been time for some time, for us to set a date for the withdrawal and redeployment of American troops, not to abandon Iraq, but so that it stands up on its own, so that Iraqis will embrace democracy for themselves as much as we want it for them. It is time to bring our heroes home. It's what they always do. They'll wrap a real strategy in slogans. They'll try to debate straw men because they're unable to debate real men or women. And this time it isn't going to work. Because we're going to stay in their face with the truth, and we're not going to give them a sliver of light for their lies. Should be bullied by an administration that literally has a cut-and-run policy in Afghanistan, that has a stand-still and do-nothing policy in North Korea, and a stand-still-and-lose policy in Iraq. We need to stand up to them, because staying the course in Iraq when it isn't working isn't visionary, it's blind. Staying and leaving our troops in the middle of a civil war isn't resolute. It's reckless. Remember, and I ask you to remember, go down and visit that wall in Washington. Stand in the center of the V. You can look up one end and look all the way to the end, and you'll see most of the names, half of the names that died of the 58,000 before up to about 1968. And then you look up the other side and go read Robert McNamara's book about how they knew the strategy wouldn't work. Half the names on that wall were lost after America's leaders knew our strategy would not work. It was immoral then, and it would be immoral now to engage in that same delusion. It used to be that America stood for something different. It used to be that the world looked to us for leadership and followed us. Politics ended at the water's edge. This president has squandered the goodwill of the world that was given to us after 9/11. Now we have a solemn obligation. Paul and Carol, if they come to Congress, or when they come, we have to do this together. And that is to restore the moral authority of our nation in the world, to once again lift other nations up, to view that moral authority as a national asset that does not tie our hands but extends our reach. We must never, ever use Abu Ghraib or Guantanamo as excuses for anything, and let me say it plainly, no American president should be for torture before he is against it. We need to restore America's moral authority in the world and remember that even a powerful nation, as powerful as we are, needs to make some friends on this planet. But you know what? We've also got to fix something that's broken here at home, too. We're the people who've always been able to dream dreams, turn those dreams into the life around us. For too many Americans, sadly, particularly for too many of our children, that is not the America of today. We have to change that. I don't want Americans just dreaming dreams. I want Americans to be able to live those dreams. And what is happening to workers in America today is, by any definition, just wrong. The administration wants you to believe that the economy has never been stronger. They say just look at the stock market. But every American understands the story of our economy is written far outside of and underneath of and beyond and around the stock market. The story of people in America today is the story of people working longer, working harder, working for wages that are frozen, watching pensions disappear, watching health care disappear, benefits go away, student loan burdens grow, personal debt grow, and yet all the time, jobs going overseas, and a greater and greater uncertainty in the lives of people who are struggling to be able to find the health care that they can't afford for themselves, let alone be able to afford for parents and grandparents who live longer than ever before. I will never forget a woman that I met in Pennsylvania, Lori Shelton, who said to me, "I'm tired of saying no to my children." And in the middle of these pressures, we see the story of a Republican Congress that is completely out of touch with the real concerns and desires and dreams of Americans. The Congress too often not even trying to make a difference, except for their cronies and their friends. No Congress in touch with the average American's real life today would dare give itself 8 pay raises and not once, not even once, raise the minimum wage. What's happened and what's changed since that year, a couple of years ago, when we worked so hard together. Katrina pulled back the curtain, and guess what? There wasn't even a wizard behind it. In fact, what we know is behind it are more Katrinas. Just take healthcare alone. Healthcare is a slow motion Katrina that's tearing at the lives of Americans at every level. In almost 6 Bush years, health insurance premiums have gone up some 73%. Reverse those numbers, and you have the Bush approval ratings. So, my friends, you know what? We face a party that's constantly talking about family values. Let me tell you something. You want to test the family values? Here's a simple test. Instead of giving people earning more than